Good Tuesday evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of WPBS Weekly Inside the Stories. I'm Stefan Brunson. Every good show on television has to start somewhere. Tonight, we give you a sneak peek of Back Road Museums, a brand new concept slated to air next month on WPBS. The title tells its tale, but here to tell you more about Back Road Museums is the show's executive producer and our very own Jolene DeRosier.
The making of a new television concept takes months, sometimes years, of pre-production prep work that most viewers aren't aware of. Such is the case for the creators of a fresh idea coming to WPBS. It's called Back Road Museums. The concept?
Our job is to kind of identify smaller museums that are off the beaten path that people are going to find interesting. Our elevator pitch is it's diners, drive-ins, and dives for people who like museums and history.
So museums on the back roads, the little guys, the ones that miss the spotlight but deserve it as much as the big guys. It was an idea that was born during a trip Tim and his wife took to a back road museum a few years back.
We were in Kingston, Ontario, and there was a prison museum in Kingston. It was just a small house, and it had a lot of really interesting displays. And I was there we probably spent about a good 45 minutes to an hour in this museum. And I felt I got more out of that museum than I did the other ones because it was more intimate. The subject was a little bit more focused. I took my time reading kind of like the little stories that were in the exhibits and stuff like that. And I thought, I got just as much enjoyment out of this little museum, which was free, than I did at the Met. I mean, they're both have, separate meanings of what they're supposed to be. And I thought this would be a really great show. Again, it popped into my mind like a diners, drive-ins, and dives where, people who are interested in museums or history would drive by this museum and never give it another look. And so that's how it kind of came to be.
Copy.
Okay, that's good. I can hear you.
And so the journey began. Tim, together with producers Ed Blomley and Michael Walker, began scouting, writing, and building the concept of a potential series.
Well, we usually go in and we do a pre-scout and we talk to the curators, and the curators kind of give us a tour, and then we specifically want one or two items that have a unique backstory to either the artist or the area or the specific museum, and tell that story. So we get, we were at the Frederick Remington Museum in Ogdensburg, New York, and there's a little known painting that he has, and then there's this giant moose head in the hall, and there was a connection between that painting and the moose head, and that's the story that we told.
How does this program differ from other programs that feature museums like this?
Well, again, I think we're kind of focusing on these smaller museums and giving them, their day in the spotlight. There are a lot of very good museum shows out there, Mysteries of the Museums and stuff like that, but they tend to be at the major museums. They tend to be at the Met or the Louvre or the Guggenheim or wherever. And this one is, this show's kind of like if you're driving down the road and you see that road sign, Ontario Regiment Museum on the 401, and you're always wondering, I wonder what that museum's about. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the museums that are, I think, interesting, that are important to local history, that are important to the country's history, and but just seem to get lost because they're off the beaten path. They're on some of the back roads of Canada and America.
By focusing on one or two unique pieces with interesting backstories, the team hopes to shed light on overlooked bits of history and art, ultimately pulling in more folks to the small, iconic galleries.
We're looking to do our pilot for WPBS in Watertown probably in the next month or so. And, then we're shopping it around to TV Ontario and places like that, and some streaming services. So, it's just one of the, I think we're a victim of COVID where we were moving along, had some good momentum, people were interested, and then everything shut down. So we're pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps and starting over again.
The first episode of Back Road Museums, featuring the Frederick Remington Museum in Ogdensburg, is slated to air this June. In the meantime, keep your eyes peeled on all back roads. For WPBS Weekly, I'm Jolene DeRosier.